The accident comes a few days after another road traffic accident which claimed 6 lives along the Beibridge Maswingo Highway this week. Lisa Masuku, ZBC News, Bulawayo.
Our thoughts and prayers do go out to the families of the deceased. Proceeding with our bulletin. Renowned gospel musician Baba Mechanic Manyeruke has ventured into farming after retiring from the music industry. Baba Manyeruke met President Emerson Mnangagwa at State House in Harare this Wednesday, where he indicated that he will appear at selected events.
Baba Mechanic Manyeruke, a member of the Salvation Army, is aged 81. A month older than the President, Comrade Emerson Mnangagwa, and only a month separates their birthdays. This Wednesday, the 15th of November 2023, he came to State House accompanied by his biographer, Bonwell Choga, and the friends of the Manyerukes, Apostle Gadzikwa and Cyril Sanewe. The two, President Mnangagwa and the Manyeruke, looked back at their blessings, the road they have traveled, and lessons learned from their experiences. The President, Comrade Emerson Mnangagwa, said he loves Baba Manyeruke's music. The Salvationist Baba Manyeruke said, do your work well and give all the glory to God, to all budding artists, as he goes into retirement.
Kana uchitenda Mwari unoreva kuti ndichengetei kusvikira pamunoda iwo bvuma kuchengeteka kwacho nokuti kana wachengetwa chero ukasenza pabasa ukachengeta basa rinokuchengeta saka ndakachengeta kutenga saka ndakasvika pakadai zvokumhanya mhanya pane vana.
I'm going farming and wish to inform all that retiring does not mean less entertaining the people. I'm just scaling down, he said. Ruben Barwez, ZBC News, State House.
Well, Baba Mechanic Manyeruke will always be an icon who is cherished by everyone. We wish him well in his future endeavors. Moving on now with our bulletin, government has intensified the collection of solid waste across all cities, with local authorities being directed to avail fresh water to curb the continued spread of cholera, which is rife in Harare's Kwadza suburb and the dormitory town of Chitungwiza.
The intervention by government through the Emergent Solid Waste Management Program comes after the Harare City Council failed to fulfill its mandate to provide services. The Minister of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, Dr. Jen Van Mswere, told journalists at a post-cabinet media briefing in Harare this Wednesday that money has been released to deal with the solid waste situation in Harare Metropolitan Province.
As at 8 November 2023, a cumulative amount of 1,083 in terms of the total illegal dumps had been cleared, translating to 54% of the target. The main focus in the next 6 weeks will be to clear all the remaining dumps. The target is to clear the following waste dumps in terms of numerical order: 10 per day in Harare, 9 per day in Chitungwiza, 2 per day in Epworth, and 2 per day in Rua. The CMED has since identified the vehicles and will be incorporated in the existing fleet. The Environmental Management Authority has transferred finances to CMED for the repairs that should be completed within a week. Emma and the task force team has developed a schedule of solid waste collection in most communities, which will be implemented from 13 November 2023. The target is to collect solid waste at least once per week at each household.
Government has since activated the Civil Protection Department and directed local authorities to provide clean water to reduce cholera incidences.
The nation is informed that the Minister of Health and Child Care, after noting that 80% of the 90 new cholera cases reported in Harare were in Kwadza, visited the area accompanied by the Mayor of Harare, the Director of Harare City Health, and an engineer in the Department of Refuse Collection to get first-hand information. The team observed the following: that residents in the particular area are not getting potable water, as Harare City Council was failing to pump adequate water due to problems at Morton Jeffrey Waterworks. That the Harare City Council was failing to manage the challenges.
Minister of Health and Child Care Dr. Douglas Mombeshora said plans are underway to get vendors off the streets.
What we have discovered is that there is poor provision of safe drinking water. You know, cholera is related to, put simply, you have eaten your feces. So it's an issue of good hygienic practice. So in St. Mary's, we also realized that there was a lot of sewage spilling. St. Mary's is a very old suburb, and most of the pipes are now old and they burst easily. And there's also a common thing of poor water supply, although the poor water supply applies to many suburbs in Harare.
Dr. Mswere also indicated that progress has been achieved towards the resuscitation of closed industries and opening of new ones.
Pertaining to the resuscitation of David Whitehead Textiles plant in Mashonaland West Province, the installation of spinning equipment at Kadoma plant is at 95% in terms of completion, and that the civil works and plant installations are at 85% and 80% respectively. That the installation of the margarine plant at Willowton, Zimbabwe in Mutare is at 95% in terms of completion.
Cabinet also deliberated on energy projects with the 2,000 metric ton Rua LPG storage facility, which has been completed, and the deployment of 56 base stations in 5 provinces, among others. Bruce Jawanda, SABC News, Harare.
Now the people of Guinea-Bissau are set to celebrate 50 years of independence this Thursday, with several African leaders and their representatives, including Zimbabwe's Vice President, Comrade Kembo Mohadi, set to attend the event.
Speaking a day ahead of festivities, Zimbabwe's top envoy to Senegal and other West African countries, Ambassador James Maridadi, noted that Guinea-Bissau is one of the few West African countries which assisted Zimbabwe during the liberation struggle. He added that this has created sound base for Zimbabwe to enhance economic ties with the West African country.
Guinea-Bissau is one of those countries that collaborated with our guerrilla movements during the armed struggle before 1975, before they got their independence, just like Mozambique and Angola. And it is that relationship with Guinea-Bissau during the days of the liberation struggle that we cherish so much. And regrettably, after independence in 1980, that relationship was not nurtured. And the reason why I am accredited to Guinea-Bissau is to ensure that we rekindle that relationship, but now we transform it into economic and trade cooperation. And that's exactly what is happening. It's their 50th anniversary, and it is very important. And that is why you have heads of state from all over Africa coming.
Meanwhile, Vice President Comrade Kembo Campbell Dugish Mohadi is in the West African country ahead of the celebrations. He was welcomed at Osvaldo Vieira International Airport in the city of Bissau by Senior Minister of Civil Affairs in the office of the President of Guinea-Bissau, Mr. Suarez Sambu. On his arrival, Comrade Mohadi said Guinea-Bissau has always been Zimbabwe's friend.
Well, it is important in that we were together in the liberation struggle, even if they got their independence before us. But we shared the trenches, so we are comrades in arms. It is not that we are just coming here as any ordinary people. We are coming here as comrades. You know, even during the times of Amilcar Cabral, their first president, who was assassinated before the independence, we were very, very close. We shared the same trenches.
Zimbabwe is expected to expand economic relations with Guinea-Bissau in various areas of interest. Sifiso Spanda, ZBC News, Guinea-Bissau.
In other news, a delegation from the United Arab Emirates in Zimbabwe for a 3-day exchange program dubbed the Zimbabwe Government Experience Exchange.
The exchange program will run from this Thursday until Saturday. Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services Minister Dr. Jennifer Muswere says the focus of the engagement is on topics that include policy and strategy, government services and innovation.
The government of Zimbabwe will be hosting a delegation from the office of His Royal Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Maktoum, who is also the Vice President and Prime Minister of the United Arab Emirates and the ruler of Dubai. The delegation is coming under the auspices of an MOU focusing primarily on the improvement and development of government services, which was signed between the Republic of Zimbabwe and the UAE in February this year. A major part of the MOU is the Government Experience Exchange Program.
The United Arab Emirates is Zimbabwe's second largest trading and investment partner with engagements in mining, pharmaceuticals and agriculture. Olina Ndori, ZBC News, Harare.
Now, ZANU PF Harare province is embarking on a polling station-based campaign in Mavuku-Tafara constituency as the ruling party targets to reclaim the seat come the 9th of December.
The December 9 by-elections draw closer. ZANU PF has intensified its voter mobilization exercise in Mavuku-Tafara constituency to drum up support for party candidate Comrade Pedzai Sakuphanya. Mavuku and Tafara have been painted with the ruling party colors as campaign teams are moving door to door. ZANU PF provincial chairperson Comrade Godwills Masimirembwa said all hands are on deck to spread the message of inclusive development.
We're doing polling station-based campaign where with all provincial members for Harare Metropolitan Province and all our party structures are involved in campaigning to ensure that we reach everyone who is registered at a polling station and put across the message of the works done by His Excellency the President, by our candidate.
Meanwhile, the ruling party has deployed Politburo members in areas which are set to hold by-elections to lead the campaign process.
Apart from the provincial teams that you have, we also have campaigning teams coming from our structures. The 3 wings, the Women's League, the War Veterans League, and the Youth League. They also have trained and experienced campaigning teams that will support our provincial teams and campaigning starting from this weekend.
The country is set to hold by-elections in 9 constituencies, including Mavuku-Tafara, after recourse by Citizens Coalition for Change Interim Secretary General Sengezo Chawangu. The polls will be held on the 9th of next month. Bruce Chawanda, ZBC News, Harare.
Still on that, the ZANU PF party has urged the electorate in Lupane East to vote for the ruling party in the December 9th by-elections to ensure continuity in the development agenda.
A 2-day campaign trail saw ZANU PF Secretary General Dr. Obed Mpofu descending on St. Paul's and Daluga in Lupane, where he interacted with the electorate. The people of Lupane East highlighted their expectations from ruling party candidate Comrade Patisiwe Machangu in the December 9 by-election.
abazulu bami izizulu zami zilezi izizulu zilezi umanga ngihambayo ubuhlungu ilokhu uza kuthiwa kwini bridge kufile kunjana kwasala kwamakhona phana
ukuthi bona lo baba selefuna ukusebenzisa asho ngobaba ubaba kodwa thina sikhanye umama phambili mama siyashitheka mama sicelwe leli.
Dr. Mpofu took the opportunity to assure the electorate that the inclusive development agenda will run its full course.
Akula ndawo ukuthi ayadevelopa ngabantu beopposition akula even usufisa usunjani bangakulethela ingxa impuphu ozayidla 2 days ingasingabi khona kodwa nxa livotela uhulumende wena elimkhethileyo lilakho likhulume ngemigwaqo lakho likhulume ngamakliniki lilakho likhulume ngezikolo lakho likhulume ngentuthuko sithe imat north inotho okumangalisayo kayikho iprovince enothe njengemat north kodwa kuba nzima kubakhokheli ukuthi balethe intuthuko leyo lapha ngokuthi lina alikhethi abantu okumele balimele kuhulumende obusayo.
Meanwhile, efforts to engage Citizens Coalition for Change CCC candidates for the Lupane East by-election Bright Moyovanya and David Nyati have not yet yielded results for the past 3 days as their mobile phones are not being answered. This news crew even engaged CCC Binga North candidate Prince Dubeko Sibanda, who provided contact details of his colleagues but to no avail. By-elections will be held in Binga North and Lupane East on the 9th of December after some CCC legislators were recalled by the opposition party's interim secretary, General Sengezo Chabangu.
Now taking a look next door, the arrest of opposition political figures in Zambia this week has been described as an attempt to silence alternative voices by the ruling party in the wake of the expose on imperialist infiltration in the SADC region.
The past week has seen 5 senior political players from the Zambian Socialist Party and the Patriotic Front being arrested on charges of espionage. This comes after they featured in a recent documentary, The Grand Regional Scheme, which exposed how Western imperialists have been making inroads in the region using local politicians. Among those arrested is Socialist Party leader Fred Membe, Patriotic Front Vice President Given Lubinda, Party Secretary General Rafael Nakachinda, and Emmanuel Mamba, who is the party's chairperson for information and publicity. In a telephone interview with the ZBC News, the legal representative of the Patriotic Front, Makebi Zulu, described the crackdown as an attempt to silence those against imperialism and dethrone revolutionary parties.
But before that, they also participated in a documentary that sought to expose the infiltration of the West in our African politics for purposes of influencing who becomes president of most of the SADC countries. And this also related to the Bentley's Foundation. They also did discuss issues relating to the SADC representatives, who was Dr. Nevas Mumba, at that time, who was sent over into Zimbabwe by President Hakainde Hichilema, and whom everybody knows that for him to ascend into his presidency was sponsored by the Bentley's Foundation. Yesterday, they caught the 2 members of the Patriotic Front Party. They were all arrested. Has been making maneuvers or making moves that are intended to bring or to take the Patriotic Front Party into oblivion. And this has been perceived as an attempt to make Zambia a one-party state.
He added that the shrinking freedom space is a threat to democracy, hence leaders should focus on rising costs of living.
There's been a systematic move by the state to try and kill every dissenting voice. They have risen up against the church, they've risen up against the civil society, they've risen up against the opposition, who are seemingly speaking against the ills that are going on in the country. The cost of living has gone up. Cost of commodities has gone up. Fuel prices, all those have gone up. And they've been called on to deal with these issues. But instead of dealing with the issues relating to the economy,
the Hakainde Hichilema-led government has been grappling with the high cost of living and made strategies that have resulted in riots in the past couple of months. Wellington Makonese, ZBC News, Harare.
On to other news now. The 3-day United Nations World Tourism Organization Media and Tourism Training in Africa workshop ended in Victoria Falls this Wednesday, with participants acknowledging they are now better positioned to market Destination Africa.
COVID-19 was an eye-opener for various sectors of the economy, with the domestic tourism and intra-Africa tourism being the major takeaways for the continent. With this in mind, African countries are looking at ways of promoting tourism destinations collectively, with the media expected to play a crucial role.
The key takeaway home from this workshop is we should improve on our communication skills, especially when it comes to branding the country.
The key takeaways would be, sometimes you do things in a way that you believe is actually there when it is not. So that last inch that you need to improve on what you do is what I have got from this place.
To show the world that everything is going good and that the paradise is still on earth.
The UNWTO said follow-ups will be made to assess the effectiveness of the training program.
One big key takeaway from this session is that the participants, the delegates from here, and even Miss Winnie herself, she's more interested now to continue with a similar program on the ground, to relate it across the country. So we will work with that direction with the ministry, with ZTA, to continue to help support the capacities on the ground.
The inaugural workshop, attended by delegates from 20 countries, aligns with the UNWTO's 10-point agenda for Africa, which focuses on branding the continent as a destination of choice to increase arrivals on the continent from the current 5%.
Now, the First Lady, Dr. Auxillia Mnangagwa, has been commended for molding morally upright young people through her all-inclusive empowerment programs.
Of your first ever career guidance, deportment, etiquette and grooming program, the First Lady, Dr. Auxillia Mnangagwa, met various stakeholders including government ministers, captains of industry, media personnel, among other key players in Harare this Monday. Said to benefit children between the ages of 8 and 14, the initiative will also tackle drug abuse and child sexual exploitation to build a solid foundation for future generations. Dubbed the First Lady's Career Guidance Sustainability into Generations, the program will be launched in the capital before being taken to other provinces, where the First Lady will be accompanied by high flyers and role models. In the same vein, the Ministers of State for Provincial Affairs and Devolution will roll out the program in their respective provinces, working with local media houses to ensure information cascade to the grassroots and reach intended beneficiaries. Dr. Mnangagwa will also rope in the Ministries of Primary and Secondary Education, Higher and Tertiary Education, as well as Sport, Recreation, Arts and Culture. The First Lady highlighted the program will help students make informed decisions about their careers and how they should conduct themselves.
I would like to thank you all for sparing time from your busy schedules to come here on a very important agenda that impacts our future generations. Through my interactive programs, I noticed that our children are now lacking Ubuntu from that tender age. I noticed that our children are lacking both grooming and career guidance relevant with the times that we are in today. This is problematic in that we will raise an undriven and unfocused generation lacking innovation and direction on who they want to become. I've also joined the career guidance with grooming and etiquette in order to probe our children into being all-rounders in both excellence and ethics. We as the elders and custodians of this generation have a duty to pass on the torch. In doing so, our children need to learn the principles of success and how they should carry themselves. Self-awareness is very important, and they should learn who they are and what they want to become, starting from young ages. My vision is for every child in this country to gain exposure from this program.
The Minister of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, Dr. Jenfan Muswere, endorsed the program, citing human capital development as a prerequisite for national development.
In terms of the National Development Strategy 1, human capital development is one of the key priorities that is going to transform this economy. But at the same time, the president has also declared war on drugs. And kuuya kwechirongwa ichi checareer guidance, counseling and also etiquette chichakwanisa kubatsira vana vese, especially vari kuchikoro, in terms of direction, and at the same time in terms of heritage-based learning, our customs and tradition. Isusu sevanhu vanoona nezvekutepfenyurwa kwenhau tichange tiri tese pakumeka sure kuti responsibility yeministry yedu to inform, to educate and also to entertain urongwa huincorporatwe kuma-newspaper, kuma-social media platforms, zvakare nekuma-television.
The Minister of State for Presidential Affairs in the Office of the President and Cabinet, Honorable Love Momatuke, and Mashonaland West Minister of State for Provincial Affairs and Devolution, Honorable Marian Chombo, spoke glowingly about the timely intervention.
This is quite a very important issue to groom our youngsters so that they become future leaders for tomorrow. And this initiative, Your Excellency, is quite important for the nation. The idea is to make sure that we've got the generation which can take care of our country when we are gone, or maybe when we are old.
It's quite relevant. Vana havasisina tsika vakungoita mazvake. It's not kuti munhu wese is academically gifted. They also have to appreciate kuti kune mamwe ma-professions avanokwanisa kuita through that career guidance. So the program ayinayo kuma-provinces kwedu se vakakumirirai, we are going to run with it because it's very relevant.
Speaking on behalf of the media, Sunday Mail editor Victoria Rushidzo thanked the First Lady for incorporating the media in a program.
Media. In all your programs, you always involve the media. Tinoshandisa all our platforms and channels to spread the message. Fortunately, because of technology, not just here in Zimbabwe, but even abroad. I want to pledge our total commitment. We are in it together, and we are in it for the long haul.
Amem Nangagwa also met chief executive officers as part of the consultative process, imploring them to use their positions of influence to inspire children. Educationist and career diplomat Ambassador Mary Mubi and National Ford's chief executive officer Mr. Michael Lashbrook lauded the First Lady for championing progressive development.
Your energy, your inspiration, I think is a hallmark of what you do. If we really want Zimbabwe to be a shining star, we need to think of the next generation. I truly recommend you for the age group you are thinking about, because often career guidance comes too late in our schools, when already they've made choices about what they will take at O level and A level. But if in fact they have a dream and a motivation, they can already begin to try and excel in the subjects that they think that they can do.
One of the great strengths of our country is its people. And personally, as someone who's getting a bit older, it does worry me that our young talent is maybe not quite what it was 15 or 20 years ago. And I really think this is opportune. And personally, I'm honored to be part of this initiative, and I will commit myself wholeheartedly to it. I think there are literally millions of children we need to touch.
Against a backdrop of deteriorating traditional values among youths, the program offers a platform to instill important life lessons among children. Festus Mkungurutse, ZBC News, Harare.
Well, you can still take a look at that story on our website and more. It's at www.zbcnews.co.zw.
We're also available on all forms of social media under the same handle at ZBC News Online. But still to come in this bulletin.
When we look at our business news, analysts welcome FBC takeover of Standard Chartered Bank.
This follows the finalization of the acquisition of Standard Chartered Bank by FBC Bank this Tuesday.
When we look at our sports news, former Dynamos and Zimbabwe national football team goalkeeper George Chigova has died.
Made News now takes a short break, but we will be back, so please stay with us.
a hallmark of solid cooperation, a testament of Zimbabwe and China's unbreakable friendship, which is rooted in a shared past and fortified by contemporary experiences. The Zimbabwe-China Traditional Chinese Medicine and Acupuncture Center at Barirenyatwa Hospital is yet another product of such unyielding bond between Zimbabwe and China. Established in 2020, the Traditional Chinese Medicines Acupuncture Center is the largest in Southern Africa. The center offers free and high-quality acupuncture services.
There are 10 doctors of different specialty. Yeah. For me, I'm the traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture doctor. And then we have a surgeon, orthopedic.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us right here on the main news. Now, the going might be getting tough for some betting houses in Harare after a local gambling company was dragged to court for allegedly failing to pay a punter who won more than 5,000 United States dollars. We get that report from Peter Chivima.
The Harare Central Business District has been flooded by betting houses where punters flock daily hoping to strike a fortune. While some walk away with an extra dollar, there is always a catch for shop owners. ZBC News took to the streets of Harare, where betting has become a source of living for some and anguish for others.
Betting yakanaka chaizvo asi nawo yakangoitika ndeyekuti panguva yacho yandaitamba iyoyo ndakatowina asi kuti izvo pari zvino mari ndoyanga yangoni nzvenga asi upenyu wacho wakatondinakidza wakatondifambira panguva iyoyo.
Betting inini zvangu nanditrust because it's gambling. Saka zvinhu zvese zvegambling zvine chitsotsi. Because hapana pekuti uchigambula hapana kusekerana pagambling.
Makazi haasiri ekuti hazi life yako inofambaka. Ayo makazi anoti ushande kutoti hazi unorarama makazi.
The case of a local betting company Bezbez, which has been dragged to court on allegations of failing to pay 5,200 United States dollars, shows the pitfalls that come with the trade. Prosper Dembeds of Harare was on cloud 9 after winning 5,200 United States dollars, but his joy soon turned into frustration after the company refused to own up. The betting house instead offered him 1,800 United States dollars. Peter Chivima, ZBC News, Harare.
Oh, do you look at that? Now, Nabila, some men have made this their day-to-day job. They wake up every morning, go to these gambling houses, give their money to these people, and now this.
You know what? It could potentially be a new form of employment, or rather entrepreneurship, shall I say. But you know what? With that entrepreneurship, there are risks, which we've now seen. This punter was not given his money. And it really, in the greater scheme of things, it wasn't that much.
Oh, so the choice goes back to the person. Do you want to do that or do you not?
But that being said, gambling is an addiction, and if you have a problem, please seek some help. But for now, we cross over to our Montrose studios, where Marilyn is on standby, who may have thoughts on this matter. Over to you, Marilyn.
Good evening, and many thanks to you, Nabila. And it's so true that there are some risks involved in gambling, as we're about to learn about this in our next report, where a dispute of over a 10 United States dollar note ended in tragedy after a 20-year-old man from Chivi allegedly stabbed his friend to death.
20-year-old Colin Takawera from Chivi area will rue the day he allegedly failed to control his emotions before stabbing his friend Elias Makamo after a misunderstanding over 10 United States dollars. It emerged in court that on the 28th of October at around 7 p.m., Takawera confronted the now deceased at China Zim 10 off in Rishabane, demanding repayment of his 10 United States dollar debt. The issue did not end well after a misunderstanding before Takawera allegedly stabbed Makamo with a knife on the left side of the chest. The deceased sustained a deep cut and was rescued by Good Samaritans, who ferried him to Mberengwa Hospital, where he was pronounced dead upon admission. The accused has since appeared in court and remanded in custody to the 21st of this month.
In another case, 4 women from Rishabane, Alice Nare, aged 43, Sharon Siziba, 36, Fatsae Mambewo, 42, and Nyarazo Nyoni, 26, are in hot soup for allegedly vandalizing the National Railways of Zimbabwe NRZ property at Shabane Exchange Yard. Allegations are that on the 10th of October this year, the co-accused allegedly connived to steal 15 couch screws, 9 G-plates and 1 dog spike from the exchange yard. They, however, ran out of luck after they were caught in the act by an NRZ officer who raised alarm, leading to the arrest of the quartet. The stolen property is worth $73 United States, and if convicted, the quartet will face a lengthy custodial sentence due to the seriousness of the crime. Zimbabwe is set to participate at the Global Compact for Refugees in Geneva, Switzerland next month as part of its international commitment towards protecting the rights of refugees.
The Tongogara refugee camp in Chipinge has become a shining example of government's commitment to protecting the rights of refugees after the construction of 15 three-bedroom houses and a vending market.
Zvimweni zvatishotera, zvimweni zvaita zviro zvakanaka zveibuda mune zvakanaka. Asi kuri zvino manje toona zviro zvatoreruka ngoti pokuata pakanaka taanapo. Chikafu chedu tinopuwa zvakanaka.
Takagara zvakanaka. Hapana chimweni chetinonawo zvakashata. Ngokuti nyari kuhora tinohorawo teirya teiguta.
Twafara kunoko twaigara zvakanaka. Twatengesa bo navashamwari vedu vashona bauya taigara nazo zvakanakisa.
Ndatenda hangu government yeZimbabwe ne baba mukuru camp administrator hatwafara yetu muZimbabwe mwakanaka sere.
The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees Country Representative Mr. Samuel Chakwera is also impressed by the country's policy of inclusivity.
Zimbabwe is one of those countries that are doing very well in hosting refugees and asylum seekers. The refugees, as you've seen, are actually thriving with the the land that has been provided to them, which doesn't happen in many countries. Providing 150 hectares of land for irrigation is something that is really treasured and admired by a lot of people internationally as well.
Public Service, Labour and Social Welfare Minister Honorable July Moyo, who toured the camp this Tuesday, reiterated government's commitment towards protecting the rights of refugees while also urging them to abide by the laws of the country.
The President is very passionate about this issue. All refugees who are legally in this country and are going their normal duties as provided for by the convention which we signed for, the 1951 Convention on Refugees. Those who are abiding by the law, the government of Zimbabwe will treat them like any other Zimbabwean and leaving no one behind. Of course, we have constraints of resources, but helped by organizations such as UNHCR, the World Food Programme, and other donor agencies, as well as NGOs that are working collaboratively with us, we can make the lives of refugees become comfortable.
Tongogara Refugee Camp is home to 15,968 refugees and asylum seekers. Tamuka Charakupa, ZBC News, Chipinge.
Health service delivery is set to improve in the Dumba community of Beitbridge after the construction of a clinic in the area using devolution funds.
The once underdeveloped community of Dumba in Beitbridge East is celebrating after the construction of a new health facility through the devolution program. With final touches being put on the health facility, members of the community are convinced that the development is a fulfillment of the Second Republic's commitment to universal health coverage.
Zvithu zvinoringana 10 to 15 kilometers richitevera clinic, so uvaone hayo riwana zvizva ndeme ngamanda ngauri zviamba uri uvaisara nautambudze havatu udokona uva covered na uthuseya nga livanga la uri ari chichimbirisa chipinga chilapfu so ri khou pfa zwi tshi ri takadza nga maanḓa nga u vha hone ha kiḽiniki
ndisa tshimbili distance ngauri distance yayo ya number 1 ndi khulwane ndi khou fhedza dzi awara ndi tshi khou tshimbila
kiḽiniki yo thusa nga maanḓa yo vha tsini ngori u a kona kana u pana gariki wa ḓiḓela hanefha wa ḓo alafhisa ṅwana
kiḽiniki i kule so tshiṅwe tshifhinga ri vha ri tshi vho tou dzhiela zwifuwo dzibudzi dzedzi ra hira vhathu vhane vha vha na dzigoloi uri vha ise muthu kiḽiniki kana sibadela.
The local authority which channeled devolution funds towards health service delivery is also constructing 2 secondary schools while another clinic will be electrified.
Rinesa council ya Beitbridge rina mbavalelo ya uri ri ite mutakalo kha vhathu zwa zwino ndi tshi amba ri khou shuma kha maclinic a Ambalo vhunzhi ha vhathu vha khou tshimbila over 20 kilometers vha tshiya kha maclinic sa tsumbo ri tshi amba Dumba yo no vha kha ma final stages vho fela it's around 98%. Ho to sala a few and we promise uri ṅwaha u tshi thoma kha first quarter ri ḓo i commission ri na iṅwe futhi ina ra khou ita Mazunga na yone yo no to fela ri khou lavhesa uri kha first quarter ḓo ita.
The new clinic will service communities around Dumba, Chapongwe and Mapaim. Providence Maranelli, ZBC News, Beitbridge.
And that's it for myself, Marilyn Gwenya, and the Montrose crew for tonight. It's back to the team at Pocket Hill Studios in Harare. And Nabila is on standby. Nabila, it's back to you.
Thank you so much to Marilyn, as well as the rest of the crew behind the scenes at our Montrose studios. Welcome back to Pockets Hill and proceeding with our bulletin. Zimbabwe Miners Federation President Henrietta Rushwaya has escaped jail after she was fined 5,000 United States dollars for trying to smuggle gold to Dubai in 2020. Let's get those details.
Appeared at the High Court in Harare this Wednesday for sentencing after being convicted for attempting to smuggle gold, was fined 5,000 United States dollars. Failure to pay the fine will see her spending 12 months in jail. In addition, Rushwaya was slapped with an 18-month wholly suspended prison sentence on condition that she does not commit a similar offense in 3 years. In handing down the sentence, the High Court said it considered that Rushwaya was not successful in smuggling the precious mineral out of the country and that she forfeited the 6 kgs gold to the state. Rushwaya was convicted early this month for trying to smuggle 6 kgs of gold worth more than 330,000 United States dollars, which was stashed in her bag. Peter Chivima, ZBC News, Harare.
16 buffaloes have died in the Matetsi safari area under unclear circumstances.
Zimbabwe Parks and Wildlife Management Authority spokesperson Tinashe Farao confirmed the incident, saying samples have been taken to veterinary laboratories for analysis.
We can confirm an unfortunate incident in Matetsi, part of northwest Matabeleland, in Matabeleland North, where about 16 buffaloes were found dead. Our vet doctors and of course with our partners took samples to find out what could have caused the death of these elephants. So investigations are already underway.
The Matetsi Safari area between Hwange National Park and Victoria Falls is a free-range hunting area dominated by Zimbabwe's pristine wild animals. Mhlomuli Ncube, ZBC News, Hwange.
And now we take a look beyond our borders, where fighting continues in Gaza. For more than 5 weeks after Hamas's October 7th attack sparked a furious response from Israel, which has vowed to destroy the Palestinian militant group.
Israeli forces entered Al-Shifa, Gaza's largest hospital, targeting what they say is a Hamas command center. Reports say the Israeli troops ordered all men over the age of 16 to exit with their hands above their heads. They were then ordered to surrender and led into a vast hospital courtyard, with some of them being stripped naked by Israeli soldiers checking them for weapons and explosives. Israel says there is a Hamas headquarters in tunnels below the hospital, which the Islamist group denies, describing it as a precise and targeted operation. The UN estimates that at least 2,300 people who are inside the hospital and may be unable to leave. The World Health Organization, WHO, says beyond Al-Shifa, 22 of Gaza's 36 hospitals are no longer functional due to a lack of fuel for generators, damage, or active combat. The first aid truck carrying fuel since the 7th of October was allowed into Gaza from Egypt through the Rafah crossing, the only entry port not controlled by Israel.
The UK Supreme Court has rejected a government plan to send migrants to Rwanda, upholding a lower court ruling that it is unlawful in a major setback for Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. A 5-judge panel at the UK's highest court unanimously sided with the Court of Appeal judges that the policy was incompatible with Britain's obligations under international treaties. The judges agreed with the lower court's June verdict that Rwanda risks forcibly returning asylum seekers and refugees to a country where they could face persecution in a move known as refoulement.
The legal test which has to be applied in this case is whether there are substantial grounds for believing that asylum seekers sent to Rwanda would be at real risk of refoulement. In the light of the evidence which I have summarised, the Court of Appeal concluded that there were such grounds. We are unanimously of the view that they were entitled to reach that conclusion. Indeed, having been taken through the evidence ourselves, we agree with their conclusion.
Well, that was a look at news beyond Zimbabwe borders. When we come back, we'll look at our business news.
A hallmark of solid cooperation, a testament of Zimbabwe and China's unbreakable friendship, which is rooted in a shared past and fortified by contemporary experiences. The Zimbabwe-China Traditional Chinese Medicine and Acupuncture Center at Barirenyatwa Hospital is yet another product of such unyielding bond between Zimbabwe and China. Established in 2020, the Traditional Chinese Medicines Acupuncture Center
Welcome back. In our business news, the appointment of a substantive chief executive officer to implement Air Zimbabwe's sustained recovery has been described as an important step in the transformation of the national airline, which was on the brink of collapse a few years ago. Our business correspondent Owen Mandova gives us that report.
National flag carrier, which announced the appointment of Mr. Edmund Makona as the substantive chief executive officer to steer it into another phase of growth, is out of financial and operational doldrums, having exited judicial management 2 years ago. Transport and Infrastructural Development Minister Honorable Felix Mona said government has registered huge milestones to give the national flag carrier back its wings.
Judicial manager left on the 30th of June 2021 after having reconstructed the airline, and we're having a 6-year plan, strategic plan, that was running from the time the administrator left. Now we've got a substantive CEO in place.
Minister Mona added that plans to boost revenue are firmly in place by expanding Air Zimbabwe's fleet and opening new routes.
The desired state of affairs at Air Zimbabwe is to also commit and reintroduce other routes that we used to know. We used to fly Beijing, Guangzhou. We used to do Harare, London, and which is at the top of our dashboard. So we're also going to be focusing mainly on cargo. And we need to leverage on the good success story when it comes to agricultural products.
Minister Mona also disclosed that government will be relentless in reviving Air Zimbabwe and other state-owned firms, including the National Railways of Zimbabwe, NRZ, to create a modern national transport system. Owen Mandova, ZBC News, Harare.
Now, in other news, analysts have welcomed the takeover of the banking system by local shareholders, saying it will serve the long-term interests of the Zimbabwean economy. This follows the finalization of the acquisition of Standard Chartered Bank by FBC this Tuesday. Let's get those details.
Economic experts say the finalization of the acquisition of British-owned Standard Chartered Bank by FBC Bank is in tandem with government's drive to transform the economy through local resources and investments. Since the turn of the millennium, Zimbabweans have been taking charge of the means of production against the diminishing interests of white industrialists who were predominantly served by the foreign-owned banks.
They were there to fund the industrialization of different sectors. They were also there to fund their mining activities. They were having more trust in terms of this to do with white community. And now if you look in terms of the whole of their business, quite a number of these banks, they were actually claiming that we only have 3% of our business being in Africa.
Dr. Kaseke further explained how government has succeeded in maintaining a safe and sound banking system.
Yeah, what we can safely say, if you look in terms of the Zimbabwean banking sector, financial sector, is that at the moment it's still a bit stable. Why? Because of the policies that have been implemented by the Mandarwat policies to stabilize the financial sector and also the liquidity situation in the country.
Economic commentator Mr. Vince Musewe says while monetary authorities need to guard against monopolistic tendencies if local banks consolidate, they've managed to sustain the sector's viability.
The bigger banks get, the more lax they become, and the more kind of less flexible and less competitive they become because they've got such a huge market share. But generally, one sees a banking sector that is very stable over time, and that has been managed well.
According to analysts, foreign-owned banks' lending policies dictated from their home countries and are aligned to their interests, which may not put into account the economic interests of the countries they operate. Owen Mandova, ZBC News, Harare.
That report from Owen Mandova capping our look at business news. We now hand over to Lawrence Trusita to give us our sports news.
Well, it is a sad day in terms of sports news as we have lost another Warriors star. Good evening. My name is Lawrence Trusida. We start off with news coming through from Rwanda, where the Warriors shared the spoils with Rwanda in a FIFA World Cup qualifier after drawing New in Butare this Wednesday.
On their return to competitive football after an 18-month suspension, the Warriors failed to unlock stubborn wasps in their own backyard. Although the Warriors looked solid, they failed to create clear-cut chances, with a few that came their way being squandered. Earlier in the match, striker Admiral Muswe seemed to lack the required physicality to wrestle the Rwandan defense after being sent through by Marshal Munetsi. Substitute Tenzo Zukamanja, who replaced the injured Muswe in the 23rd minute, was also put through twice but failed to get the decisive touches in the first half. The second half saw the technical department introducing fresh legs in strikers, Tino Kadewere, who is best in France, and the Blower Chiefs Aubrey Chirinda, the top goal scorer in the Kasolaga Premier Soccer League. However, the two strikers failed to provide the impetus that was needed, and the match fizzled out to a goalless draw as the Wasps of Rwanda also failed to cave out chances. Having conducted just 2 training sessions with the team, head coach Bautema Brito is satisfied with the draw.
We come here with some of the players with 2 training sessions. There is players that play today that they arrived during that day. So we didn't have too much time to prepare this game. Even without too much time, we did well in terms of requesting. But one thing is request, another thing is practice every day and developing the plan. So.
Well, that was the voice of Bautema Brito, the Warriors coach, just giving his assessment of the match after a new world draw. And he says that he's satisfied with the draw, considering the preparations they had. Moving on, we can also tell you that former Dynamos and Zimbabwe goalkeeper George Chigova has died. He was 32. Reports from South Africa say Chigova collapsed and died this Wednesday morning. The SuperSport United goalkeeper was receiving treatment for a heart condition that forced him out of the team 3 months ago. SuperSport United coach Gavin Hunter confirmed Chigova's medical condition and went further to claim that it would be difficult for him to return to the field. Chigova started his professional career at the now-defunct Gunners before moving to Dynamos, where he won 3 league titles and went on to join SuperSport United of South Africa in 2015. He then moved from Matsatsansa to Polokwane, where he spent 5 years. The Aces Youth Soccer Academy product has then rejoined the SuperSport in 2020, but his medical condition forced him out of the team. And we can also confirm that Chigova managed to play more than 20 matches for the Warriors. We say may he so continue to rest in peace. We move on. Football legend Martin Ndlovu has pulled his out after losing his former Warriors and Highlanders teammate Raman Gumbo, who died in Botswana this Friday. Well, we'll give you that report later on, but we move on, and the news is that the 2023 Kasolaga Premier Soccer League Footballer of the Year selection is set to be announced on the 20th of this month. The Premier Soccer League announced this Wednesday that a panel comprising journalists, coaches, and club captains will select the Soccer Star of the Year this Friday, with his 2 runners-up and the best coach as well as a goalkeeper. And the awards are set to be held on the 1st of December in Harare. So that's all we managed to have for you in sports news this evening. It's now time for the weather report.
Oh, thank you very much, Lawrence, for giving us our sports news. It's a rather sad day, hey?
It is a rather sad day for our football. It's been a rather sad week or so for our football. But we do continue to pray for the families of the departed and the deceased, and we pray for Zimbabwe and Zimbabwe's football going forward.
Well, that's it. That's all we have for our main news today. Have a good evening.
Good night.
Waswera say good ya, in Nasera